All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar event. My name is Joshua, and I'm going to be your presenter today. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to do my regular sound check beforehand. My audio appears to be coming through okay. I hope everybody can hear me. We're here to talk about voiding payroll in Church Windows Payroll module. I'm just going to say right here at the outset that this event is not going to even probably go the full 20 minutes. But we'll go as long as the topic takes us. All right, so, the assumption here is we've got Church Windows Payroll. It transfers over to our accounting module. And, there are times when we do need to void that pay for whatever reason. We're going to be working in our Payroll 102 book, pages actually 21 and 22. I think the topic actually said 21 through 26, and we're not going to be talking about those other things. We're just going to be talking about voiding pay. But if you're interested in the workbooks, please check that out. Church Windows, the workbooks page out on our website. You can certainly purchase them. They're there. You can also find out more about those. So there are times when we need to void a pay, whether it's, an employee's lost a recent paycheck or something and we want to void and recalculate that to produce a new check, albeit we don't need to void a pay in order to reproduce a replacement check for a lost payroll check. But that's just one example. Or, for whatever reason, we need to void a payroll in order to recalculate that. So once we open Church Windows Payroll, and we are, folks, working with our payroll version 2017 SR3, I'm drawing that line on there with the highlighter. If you don't have the Service Release 3, please go to our website, churchwindows.com, and download and install that for the Service Release, third Service Release, primarily for your 941 form. So if you're unsure if you need to do this, we would, of course, always recommend going into System Administration and backup data and make a backup of your payroll data if you're unsure. Not that it can't be recalculated should you need to. But when we want to void a payroll, we go click on Payroll, and we notice here about a third of the way down the menu, the one called Void Individual Pay. As a technician, this is where I go, to take people to void a payroll. But I also use it as a reference point to find payroll that's actually been calculated and posted. So if we click on the Void Individual Pay window, it clearly shows us that we have something entered in here, that we had something entered in here for December 31st of 17, maybe an adjustment of some kind that was later voided. But we clearly see that was in red, and on the right-hand side, we see the checkbox, the voided checkbox is checked. Okay? So when we're in our Void Individual Pay window, you would simply highlight the person that you're wanting to void. So if I go, I've got my, check here for John Thomas, on March 31st of 17, and I want to void that, I simply highlight that paycheck. It does show the check number, the employee's name, the net pay amount, etc. Once I've chosen that, I would simply click the Void button in the upper right hand corner. Let me again grab my highlighter and steer some focus right up here. Okay, that's our Void button. So once we've clicked on the Void button, it'll pop up and say, once we click Void, it says one selected entry voided successfully. Click OK to continue or cancel to undo. So basically it's not asking me to confirm it. This is my confirm prompt. So basically if I go, I chose the wrong employee's name, I would simply click cancel, and I'm back to where I started. Okay, so if I click on John Thomas's name again and click void and I click OK, it then immediately pops up and prompts me with the dialog box that says payroll entries were voided that had previously been transferred to accounting. Do you want to reverse accounting transactions for those payroll entries? And, we would suggest that under very rare circumstances would you say no to this, but generally 99% of the time you're going to say yes. So I would click yes. It then pops up. It's doing its little gyrations here, but basically it's now transferring payroll data to accounting. So it did its little check. It's reaching over into accounting. It then pops up with the dialog box that says one payroll transaction reversed in accounting. Okay, Okay, and now it shows the paycheck for John Thomas on March 31st now in red, and the checkbox voided is voided on the right, is checked on the right. Okay, so that's how you would void one check. If you wish to, void others, you could do an entire pay date in a couple different ways. Like if you have to void, all of the paychecks on a particular pay date. So let's say I go down to March 15th. I can highlight the first one, hold down my Shift key, and I can select them all that way. Or I can highlight one and hold down my Control key and then randomly select paychecks if I wish. Okay, so I don't need to do them one at a time, even if I have multiples to do. Or the other option, when you do need to void a paychecks for an entire pay date, you would go up to the pay date menu there in the upper left, and we would say choose, March 15th. It then isolates that pay date, and now we can use the clear all and select all buttons here at the top. So I can now just click select all. I prefer that, frankly, because it means I'm choosing all of the checks I want on the particular pay date. I'm not running the risk of choosing checks on a different pay date that I don't want to void. That's why I recommend frequently using and going up to the pay date menu in the upper left and choosing or selecting the specific pay date. Then same thing, once I highlighted that, I would simply click void. Same message pops up and says 7 entries voided successfully, OK to continue or cancel to undo. So same thing, when I click OK on that, it says payroll entries were voided that had previously been transferred. Do I want to reverse the accounting transactions? And of course I'm going to say yes to that. That's important, folks, because if I don't do that, those checks, payroll checks, are going to be affecting all of my accounts in accounting, and they're going to show up on my bank reconciliation when perhaps they're never going to clear the bank. So then it pops up and says my payroll has 7 payroll transactions reversed in accounting. So as much as it will transfer over to accounting when you're posting the pay, it'll also void the paychecks or reverse those transactions in accounting equally. Okay? Again, 99 times out of 100, we're going to say yes to reversing those accounting transactions. Now they're all in red. So all of my March 15th pays are voided. I can now go back in and recalculate or whatever if I need to do with those as needed. Okay. Finally, if I go to payroll and it's not really in the workbook, I've talked to my workbook folks here to let them know that we don't really have a section in there for voiding EFT pays. So you can void EFT or direct deposit payroll in payroll 2. Of course, the caution you have to exert with that is if in fact that file was transferred to the bank and employees were paid, then there's a discrepancy between Church Windows and what your bank is going to show. So yes, a couple versions ago, I think in 2016, we added the ability to void the EFT or direct deposit payrolls, but that again is only useful or helpful if the file was never transmitted to the bank or the bank couldn't upload or import the file for whatever reason and therefore folks were not paid. But it works exactly the same way. You click on Void EFT Pay. It opens up the specific the Void EFT batch. And now one of the things about this, though, is, folks, we can't select here. This is all or nothing. So when I choose a particular pay date, notice, and I click on one employee, it highlights them all. Okay, because it's one large batch file with one large debit to the church's bank account and a credit to each employee's account for those net check amounts. We can't just void one of the payments in the EFT batch. It has to be it voids the entire batch. Okay? And then I can certainly go back in and recalculate it for that same paid if necessary, omitting or adding employees that maybe I missed, but it's all or nothing. Okay? Can't just choose Jerry or Larry. I have to choose them all. I have to void the entire EFT file. Same thing, I would simply click void in the upper right corner. It says same thing. 2 entries voided successfully, OK to continue or cancel to undo. Same thing, it asks me, do I want to reverse those transactions in accounting? Okay. You do have pretty much, folks, full control here, as long as you're aware that there are certain restrictions that Church Windows does put on it, payroll does, like, again, can't randomly select one employee as part of an EFT file, have to void the entire pay and recalculate it to produce a new file with or adding in or taking out employees I did or did not want. Okay, but now pay for March 15th is voided, I can now go in and recalculate it for either my regular employees or for my direct deposit employees at will, if I wish. Okay. Yeah, so folks, that's it. There really isn't any more to voiding payrolls other than that. It's like I said, it was going to be a short topic today. But that's how easy it is to void either direct deposit payrolls or pays or void checks for either a single person or an entire batch for an entire date in payroll. You can void contractors very much the same way by simply going up to your pay type window at the top. Let's go back to void individual pay. Right up here, pay types, contractors or employees or all. If I had contractors in here that I was paying through payroll, they would show up in this list. And of course, those pays show up in here in red as a record that we had previously posted them, and then they were later voided. Okay, so that's our topic for the day. I'm going to kind of hold off here and see if anybody's got any questions for me. Please type those in the questions portion of the control panel there for me, and I'll certainly see what I can do to answer those for us. As we like to mention, I do like to remind folks is the video of today's webinar event will be on our website under the Support Center page by 5 p.m. this coming Friday. So you can always revisit this event. But I'm just waiting to see if anybody's typing in any questions. Sometimes those do take a little bit of time to type in. All right, well, I'm not seeing anything coming in yet. Again, I want to give some folks a few minutes to type that in. We hope you'll continue to register for and attend the other webinar events that we have upcoming here. Please check the free webinars page on our website if you've not already done so. There might be events in there for the remainder of the month that might benefit you. All right, well, I'm not seeing any questions coming in here, so I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar for everyone. We hope it's been helpful. If you have questions, please let us know at 800-533-5227. Thank you so much for attending, and we'll look forward to seeing you at another Church Windows webinar event. Thank you. Bye-bye.